Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to completely master one of the most heavily tested and, honestly, most misunderstood topics in corporate finance, interest rate risk. Whether you're gearing up for a big exam or just trying to wrap your head around how the bond market actually ticks, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break this whole thing down into bite-sized, logical pieces so that by the end, it just clicks. Let's get right into it.
Here is our game plan for today. First, we'll nail down exactly what this risk is. Second, we'll compare short and long-term bonds. Third, we'll look at how inflation actually drives these rates. And finally, we'll cover the most common exam mistakes to make sure you avoid them.
Okay, let's dive right into Section 1, defining the risk. So, what exactly is interest rate risk? Quite simply, it's the risk that an investment security is going to fluctuate in value purely because of changes in overall interest rates. Now, pay close attention to what this doesn't say. It does not say the company goes belly up. It just means that because market rates are always bouncing around, the actual real-time price of your specific bond has to move in response. You see, when you buy a bond, you're locked into a fixed contract, but the world around you, it keeps changing. And that friction right there, that is the exact source of interest rate risk.
Moving on to Section 2, short-term versus long-term bonds.
Now, you might be wondering, are all bonds hit the exact same way by this risk? No way. Absolutely not. And this brilliantly illustrates why. If you look at a standard yield curve, you'll see it slopes upward as you move along the timeline toward maturity. That upward slope is basically telling us a story. Short-term interest rates are usually lower than long-term rates. Investors demand a higher yield, more money, to compensate for the increased risk of tying up their cash for longer periods. Time literally introduces uncertainty. The longer you lend your money out, the more chances there are for things to go sideways in the market.
To really hammer this point home, let's look at this exact quote from the text. The longer a bond's term, the more time interest rate volatility may affect a bond's price, and the more sensitive its price is to interest rate changes. Think of time as a massive multiplier. The term of the bond is absolutely your best measure of interest rate risk, period. A longer term simply multiplies your exposure to whatever crazy volatility the market throws at you. Let's put these two side by side so they are permanently burned into your brain for exam day. Short-term bonds are sitting there on the left, with lower interest rate risk and lower price sensitivity. Why? Well, if market rates suddenly jump tomorrow, a short-term bond's price will only dip a tiny bit, because the investor doesn't have to wait very long to get their cash back and reinvest at that sweet new higher rate. But on the flip side, look at the long-term bonds. They carry a hugely amplified interest rate risk. Their prices are super sensitive. Imagine you're holding a 20-year bond and market rates suddenly skyrocket. You are literally stuck holding an old, lower-paying asset for 2 decades. Because of that, the market price of your bond is going to take a massive nosedive.
Okay, let's look at the actual math behind how this plays out. If the current market rate equals your bond's stated rate, boom, it sells at par. Face value. Easy. But what if the market rate is higher? Well, nobody's going to buy your bond for full price when they can get a better deal elsewhere, right? So you have to offer a discount. Your bond is sold at a discount. Conversely, if your bond pays a stated rate that's higher than the current market average, investors are going to fight over it. They will gladly pay a premium. So you see, the changing market entirely dictates the real-time value of that bond.
All right, that brings us to Section 3, how inflation drives rates.
So we've talked a lot about how these shifting market rates push your bond's price around. But let's zoom out for a second. What actually causes these market interest rates to shift in the first place? Why isn't the market rate just a flat, boring number year after year?
Well, our source text gives us a crystal clear answer to that. It's inflation expectations. Inflation expectations are a massive primary factor driving interest rates. Think about it. If the market suddenly expects inflation to spike, lenders aren't dumb. They're going to demand higher interest rates right now to make sure the money they get paid back later still has the exact same purchasing power. And when those inflation expectations drive market rates up, remember our golden rule. The value of existing bonds, especially those highly sensitive long-term ones, goes down.
Now for the really important part. Section 4, avoiding common exam mistakes.
So the absolutely crucial point for your exams is making sure you don't mix up your definitions. I see this all the time. The biggest trap is confusing interest rate risk with credit risk. Let's draw a hard line in the sand right now. Interest rate risk is strictly about the value of the bond going up and down because of the market environment. The company could be in flawless financial health, but your bond price still drops if market rates rise. Credit risk, on the other hand, is entirely about the company itself.
It's the actual likelihood that the firm goes bankrupt and totally fails to pay you back. One is just market pricing, the other is about borrower survival.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it visually maps out that credit risk we just talked about. Notice how duration isn't the focus here at all. We are purely looking at creditworthiness. Up at the top, you've got U.S. Treasury bonds, basically the safest bet out there, and then it moves down through investment-grade corporate bonds. As you keep moving down the list, the risk of actual default gets higher and higher, and because risk goes up, the return that investors demand goes up too. This specific hierarchy is judged by credit rating agencies like Moody's or Standard & Poor's, not by looking at a yield curve. And right at the very bottom of that hierarchy, you'll find what we call junk bonds. A junk bond is simply a non-investment grade bond that's rated BB or lower. Why the bad grade? Because of its exceptionally high default risk. These are your classic high-risk, high-reward plays. So if an exam question throws a BB-rated bond at you, your brain needs to immediately scream credit risk and default risk. Keep that completely separate from the interest rate sensitivity stuff we learned earlier.
Okay, let's lock in our ultimate takeaways for today. First, duration, or the term of the bond, is hands down the best measure of interest rate risk. Second, longer terms mathematically guarantee higher price sensitivity to the market. Third, never ever confuse interest rate risk, which is about the daily price, with credit risk, which is about whether you actually get paid back at all. And finally, credit risk is graded by specialized rating agencies, while interest rate risk is evaluated just by looking at the bond's maturity timeline.
I want to leave you with a quick, provocative question to really test what we've covered today. Let's say inflation expectations suddenly drop tomorrow, meaning market interest rates are definitely going to drop too. Would you rather be holding a 1-year bond or a 20-year bond? Think about the rules of duration and price sensitivity we just went over, and try to figure out which one of those is going to see a massive, massive spike in its value. Keep that concept fresh in your mind, and you are going to absolutely crush this topic. Thanks so much for hanging out and learning with me in this explainer today. Catch you next time.